Okay, so I had some luck, you guys, and I got $20. Okay, and my baby daddy is trying to call me a con artist for asking people to help us because God told me to press charges on him because this is the same baby from the house where he was abusing me in my apartment. And so the miracle of the baby still being alive, God was like, she pregnant, and that's gonna testify against you when she press charges on you. So he's like, oh, my baby mama is a vagabond, my baby mama is a con artist, my baby mama is faking her pregnancy, my baby mama lying, somebody beat her up for me, and the baby is moving right now, right here. And he like, hell nah, daddy, I'm being tortured and you better stop lying. Mama is pregnant. And that's wrong. You need to do your time and let your child survive. Because if I hurt one of my children and I had to go to jail because we was fighting, and I hurt one of the children, or and my spouse harmed me, then I would just be like, I messed up. I messed up, and I shouldn't have been doing that to my children and my spouse. So let me just do my time because they had a right to hurt me. And it's a little child involved. So he really needs to man up. But the people in the state, I pray that the authorities do the right thing, because God said that my baby daddy was just not learning. God said that we was in love, and God said that he just was abusing women. He said that he just has not learned his lessons about abusing women, and that's why I shot him. And God said that I was going up to the prison with our son to see him, and that he promised me that, I don't want to cry, because when Jesus is right there present when you having conversations with your spouse, and he remembers the conversations that you was having, and God said that I was Austin's wife. So we were not actually married, but God considered him being my husband because I gave birth to a child for him, and it was the first man I ever gave birth to a child to, and we were in love. And it was both of our first child, and God said we were married in his eyes. And he said that I was his wife, and he said that I went to the jail, and he was in prison already for being abusive. And God said that he promised me, because he told me to tell my lawyer. He told me he saw some black women that had came to me in the spirit, and they had knew that I was in there, and they was like, why you in here crying and screaming like that, and what's wrong? And then God was like, these women is jealous of her, that's trying to have her imprisoned for protecting herself and her baby, and she's pregnant. And then he was like, and they got me looking hot mess right now. Y'all gotta excuse me, y'all, because I wasn't trying to use lace glue, and it took out edges, and I can't do my hair. But God said they was jealous, and that's why they were trying to cover up the evidence that he was abusing me. And then the Lord said she went up to the prison while he was in prison with the little boy that she gave birth to for him. And he hadn't seen the baby since the baby was 5 weeks, because he was being violent with her and the boy in the house when the baby first came home. And he was like, so he went to prison, and she came up to the jail, to the prison, and brought the baby to see him because the baby looked just like him. And he started promising that he would never hurt them again. And then so God explained that God was like, when she was pregnant, he put her in the hospital, and he said that he did it several times. And God said that that he promised not to do it again, and that's why I let him back in the apartment when he got out of prison. And God said that when he put me in the hospital, he said that my baby almost died, and he said when he was born that he could not breathe. So at first I was blaming myself for how Melbourne came out when he almost died, but God had said, no, he was hitting her, and when the baby was born, he almost died and he couldn't breathe. So now I know from the Most High why my son came out like that. So they have been having me smoking with this pregnancy, but I did not do all this with Melbourne. I was not sitting up smoking Black and Miles with my little boy pregnant with my first child, no. And they trying to make it seem like that's what happened with Melbourne. And God was like, no, he was abusing her, put her in the hospital, and her baby almost died. And he told the black lady who wanted to know what was going on in the spirit, he said, go give this to her lawyer. He said, write it down and give it to her lawyer. And my lawyer was Ingrid Chandler. And even though Ingrid Chandler was being racist, a white woman, and not really trying to represent me, they had threatened to kill my lawyer. They did. She was being racist too, talking about I shot a gun, but the higher up skull and bone white men, Illuminati white men, they threatened to kill my lawyer if she did properly represent me. They threatened to kill her and my baby daddy, even if he came forward with the truth about me being pregnant and everything, because they feel like I'm white. And I mean, they feel like they white and I shot a gun, period. So they don't care really about the evidence. They just care about my skin tone and about the fact that a black person shot a white person, because you got to understand, then black people all over the world will start to realize, okay, if a white person is hurting me, that I can defend myself through the power of Jesus Christ and Jehovah. So they trying to make a real big example out of me and my baby in me, and trying to win the battle against God, and say that I'm not pregnant after God healed the baby in the jail when they tried to murder us. But anyway, let me just find something to eat, y'all, because I am pregnant and I am hungry, and it is wrong for them to try to starve us. That hurts so bad, and they did this for 3 years, and I'm just praying for the best for the baby, and God showed me survival of what they would call fetus. But as long as I've been carrying this baby, like Austin is joking about it, calling the baby a toddler. I don't appreciate that. And God said he is going to jail, and he's joking about it, calling the baby a toddler, but it is a baby. It is a baby. It is considered a baby after carrying it for this long. I mean, it's not a full-grown child, but they also have my child, who was a baby. He was 22 months old. He was a baby, and he is my son. Now, he is a child. He is a son, and they got my son. And they know how they got my son, and they need to return my son. And God said he better be alive, because they was threatening my son. And so I'm pregnant now. I don't know what I'm having, but I need help, basically. I just need a lot of help. And God said that Austin was going to jail for a long time. I don't know if that means he was going to have to go to prison, or if that means that he was going to have to go to the county. But God said he going to jail for a long time, and God said he gonna learn a lot of lessons in jail. God said Andrea is pressing charges on him, and God said that his mother, she is a very powerful white I'ma just call her woman, but God should call her witch. She is a very powerful white woman with very powerful affiliations with blacks, whites, Hispanics, people of all ethnicities, and she is very angry because Austin was shot, but Austin was abusing her and his father and me and my son. And as much as she may love Austin, and as much as she may love white power, righteousness is righteousness and wrong is wrong, and she should not be trying to keep my son from me. Well, she should not have tried to keep my son from me. She sued me for my little boy, and then convinced my family to leave me outside like I was guilty for the shooting. Like I shouldn't have protected myself. Like I didn't have a right to, and causing my family to outcast me on the streets and then take my son. And so God said she was wrong for that, and God said that that he would make her pay for that. And God said that I was pressing charges, because Cynthia was like, oh, my son already been shot, stay away from my son. But God is like, well, he was abusing women. And God said that's how his leg got hurt. And then God said, let that bullet in his leg be a reminder to him about abusing women. And because I'm a black woman, and because people think they can abuse women in general, they don't understand how God feels about it. And God is like, I created women, and that a grown man, don't matter how old he is, if he a man, he ain't got no business abusing a woman. And then on top of that, she's pregnant and she's bleeding. So I didn't know that the bullet was still in Austin's leg, because I had not had any contact with him Other than the spirit, my sister had came to me and said that she was like, oh, she was supposed to bond me out. Told me she paid my bond. Then all of a sudden she ran off and stopped answering the phone, and even ran off with money that somebody said they donated towards my bond. And my sister came in the spirit because she was doing witchcraft on me. Shakina talking about, oh, we thought you killed him. I didn't know what was going on, but God showed me that he was alive and that his leg was healed, because he showed me his leg was messed up. And then so I prayed and said, God, please heal his leg right back like it's normal. Austin came up in there walking without a cast, without a cane, walking normal. And so I knew that God had answered my prayers and had pretty much healed his leg, but God had told me that the bullet was still in his leg, and that was a reminder to him. God said that he was the reason why they couldn't get the bullet out. Because God said he wanted it to stay there so that it could remind Austin to not do that, to do not abuse women. When you think about having a bullet in your leg, think twice before you hit another female. That's pretty much what God was saying. And God said he could have killed my children because I'm pregnant and my little boy was only 22 months old. And God said with the type of force and violence that Austin was using, that he could have killed my baby boy. And I had holes, big old holes all over my house that he had kicked and punched all in the walls. And he had took my flat screen that Joseph had bought me and slammed it, and then started stumping it and crushing the screen right in front of my little baby. He was just acting really crazy. And so I didn't know the bullet was still in his leg until God told me. And then so I had to get it confirmed, because we went to family court and Tracy judge's courtroom, and Tracy was trying to be racist and just side with Cynthia and not understand that this black woman is loved by God, and she's a sweet woman, and she take care of her son, and she deserved to have her baby returned to her, and she is also pregnant, and they done tortured the baby in her for the shooting, and you over here giving her son away because Austin is saying in the courtroom that he got a bullet in his leg. But it was because he was abusing us. And then Austin was trying to say the bullet could have hit my son because he was holding my son. He was not holding my son. He was being violent with my son. And God said that the witness already told the investigator, Jim McDougal, that Austin was being violent and that he was not holding the baby. And Jim McDougal had reenacted the shooting, because the reason why the bullet was able to stay in his leg is because I put the gun right to his leg, to the skin, and pulled the trigger. Like close to the skin, and pulled the trigger, so it got lodged in there. And God said it was a reminder to him. And Austin said that it was still in his leg, and Jim said that it shattered his femur. And so Jim was like everybody, all the white people was mad because it shattered his femur, and I guess they couldn't get the bullet out. But Jim said that because of how close range it was, that nobody else was in danger of getting shot. So it was right in his leg. So they kept like this part. So I held the gun right there. I bent down and had my son, and then as soon as I shot the trigger, I grabbed my baby out of his arm. But he was being violent with him, and the man was trying to restrain him, and he was doing all that, acting crazy, and he had just got done attacking me and knocking me all down in the restaurant, and I had my little baby, and so and I was pregnant and thought the baby was dead because I was bleeding that day. So I thought that I had miscarried. And so Jim said because of the way that I shot the gun, that the baby was up here, and the witness was trying to restrain him, and I did not point the gun at the witness or my child, and it hit the person who it was supposed to hit. The person who got, because I didn't shoot it from a long distance, I shot him with right close range, and God said and Jim said that nobody else was in danger of being shot, and I had never shot a gun before in my life. Other than to have to protect myself. I have never went out playing with shooting guns on New Year's, 4th of July, shooting range, none of that. I know how to use a gun. I'm 30 years old, and I did my research, thorough research, and I did not plan on shooting him. They were actually being racist to me and my little boy in the community because my baby daddy was white, and Cynthia had sent gang members, white racist gangs, to try to steal him from me and harass me in my home that she was helping, that Joseph was helping me pay for. And child, I'm telling you right now, I was so scared of these racist white Klansmen riding around my home every single night that I had to go and buy a 380 from Academy. And the black men in Conroe was racist, and they were hating because I had a baby with a white man, and they was riding around doing it with them in the middle of the night while Austin was in prison. And I was like, they done tried to come up in my house, and I was like, oh no, I'm finna go buy me a gun. So I took my own money, and I never told Cynthia, because I asked her, I said, do you have anything to do with these people riding around my home? Because she was always belittling me, and she said she didn't, but I knew she was lying because God had already told me that Cynthia had it out for me, and that my baby daddy had it out for me while he was in prison, because I called the police while he was being abusive with us. And so all the black girls in the neighborhood, God said, was jealous, and they was over there trying to act like they didn't know what was going on. They was over there trying to act like they didn't know why we was being abused in our home. And so the police was doing it. The Conroe police was trying to abuse me and my little boy in our home, trying to intimidate me for having a baby by a white man. And I never knew when I was a little girl. I knew that I liked the white man when I was a little girl. I knew that, but I didn't know that I actually have a baby by a white man. I thought that I would marry a black man and have my first kids or whatever with a black man and be married, like most black girls, you know what I'm saying? But the way that they exalt white men image as like the superhero, a lot of black women fantasize about being with a white man. So when I actually got with a white man, I let him get away with a lot. A lot of stuff that I wouldn't have took from no black man. And then God was like, when she finally said, I'm cutting it off, like, I don't want to be with you, that he just kept beating on me and kept hitting on me. And God was like, I was serious. And he was trying to make it seem like because I was black that I could not walk away from him without being abused. And everybody in the community was trying to act like I could not walk away from him without being abused. And at first I thought I had so much freedom with him because they was buying me things and being nice to me. So I thought I had a lot of freedom, and then I felt like a slave, and I was like, what did I get myself into when I really was trying to cut it off after the abuse just got too bad? And then he went and got other whites and other groups of people to abuse me because I was trying to leave the relationship. And that's what they doing right now because they know I want my son and I'm pregnant, and then I'm pressing charges and I don't want nothing to do with him, on that level. And so they got a lot of pull and power. And with the history of black women actually being raped and abused by white men, oh my God, this is really where all this is stemming from, because God said that he was raping me. And the times that I told Austin no, that I didn't feel like it in the house, and he kept doing it, and I was pregnant, God said it made me start bleeding because he was doing it anyway, and it was kind of like a little forceful. And it made me start bleeding. And then God said he was hitting me too, and during this pregnancy. And he said I tried to get him to stop, and that I didn't want to let him in the house. I did. I tried to get him to stop, and I called 911. He was fleeing from the police, and I didn't want to let him back in the house. When he came back after he was fleeing from the police, I was calling the 911 operator and telling her he's outside my home, because I knew that my baby daddy just got out of prison, and he's still in here just blatantly hitting on me like this, and I'm pregnant, and I don't got time for this shit. And so I had told Austin, I'm not going to be partying with you. I'm grown. I done took care of this child while you was in prison, and I'm pregnant with another one. And I ain't trying to be sitting up smoking weed with you and drinking and all of that. And I don't want it in my house because they not going to come and take my kids about no weed. And I'm not going to lose this baby drinking no alcohol with you and partying. And he got mad and started stealing money that he was giving me for my studio, and started beating me up, and robbing me for my car. And I guess now that I'm seeing all these black people coming out the woodwork to try to help them like slaves to hurt me because I shot a white man in self-defense, we're not as evolved as they try to make it seem. I have rights and laws I have rights and benefits under the law of God, but under the constitution of the white man, God called it Satan kingdom, because he think that he can oppress God people, and God said no. So if God is saying that I have rights and that he cannot hit on me, and Satan is saying, and a white man is saying that yes, he can hit her, and God is like, no, he cannot, and I'm gonna send y'all to hell for thinking that he can hit on Andrea, and I'm telling y'all he cannot hit on her and tell her she cannot defend herself because she's black and she's pregnant, and y'all trying to kill her baby, and I'ma send y'all to hell. And they talking about we don't care. We got everything in the white man kingdom right now, and you done let us get away with all this for all this time. You ain't coming right now. You ain't gonna do nothing. So I done seen him fighting for me. It's been a hurricane every time. I'll go into details about that later, because they like to threaten to kill us when I start telling about how God is fighting for us in the land. But they don't want to send a white male to prison for abusing a black woman, a pregnant black woman, because of the history of slavery in America, and he want to try to uphold his honor. So they're trying to do an honor killing on me, and then have all the black men and all the Indian, all the males in the land trying to exert their authority over me as a female, because I shot a white man and I shot a male in general. And men abuse women all over the world, and they got them worshiping false gods, and because they don't want you to know your God, because if you know your God, then you'll understand that you don't got to let that man beat on you. You can run, you can get away, and if you trapped, you can pray to your God, or you might have to defend yourself, and you might have to use deadly force, because you don't have to allow men to abuse you and your children. And that's what God was showing me, that he cared about us. So they don't want us to know Jehovah. They don't want us to know Jesus Christ. They want you to be a Muslim. They want you to know Allah. They want to lie to you about a lie. Because then when you getting beat upside your head and women is being murdered for domestic violence every single day, they're going to say that it was okay for the male to do that. But when you know Jehovah and you know Jesus Christ, and you know that your God going to stand up for you, then you know it's not okay. It ain't okay for them to do that. You see what I'm saying? So this is a major breakthrough for us as black people and for us as women all over the world, because as black people, the whites have taught us that we cannot defend ourselves, and they have exalted every other ethnicity above us, and we are a strong people that can defend ourselves and that will defend ourselves. And see, these black people over here is selling out because of that slavery mentality of, oh, black people cannot defend ourselves, and that we got to stay up under other races that's actually weaker than us. You see what I'm saying? We are the strongest, pretty much the strongest race on the planet. And I don't mean to say it to be mean, but I'm saying it because it's true. And so you got people that's weaker than us ganging up on us. 10 officers talking about get one black man on the ground. Why you got to have 10 of them? Because he gonna beast on y'all and beat y'all ass because he's strong. And they got to try to keep us down. They got to try to get the Hispanics to keep us down. They got to try to get the Chinese to help keep us down. You see a Chinese man jumping on a black woman. Why are you doing that? Why are you intimidated by a black woman? Because she's strong. And her male is even stronger. So with me having to defend myself, they like, okay, we got to hurt her. And then men in general are abusing women in general. So women in general are being abused on a very high level, and you got women being killed every day all over the world by violent males. And I mean, you could say, oh, this woman look like she can protect herself, she look big and burly. I done seen big old fat women be killed by little tiny scrawny men. I read an article when I was in the Montgomery County Jail of a male in Houston, Texas, picking up a hammer and hitting a girl in the head with a hammer, and he killed her. And she was trying to break up with him. Another male chased her down the street, like how Austin chased me down the street, and he killed her in the middle of the street in front of everybody. And these are just some of the examples, because it's a lot. And then it's women of all ethnicities that they are killing. So for these men to be trying to run around and kill me, talking about, oh, she ain't have a right to defend herself. No, I was not finna have to be ending up in no damn body bag because Austin want to keep losing his cool on me. But so they need to step down and then go count all the bodies of the women that these males done killed. Go count how many males y'all done had to convict for killing a woman, and step down and let God step up as the judge and be honored to be involved with a case where Jesus Christ is involved, because he don't talk a whole lot. He keeps silent. He's slow to wrath. He's slow to anger, but he's very angry right now. about this case. About them trying to set me up to be murdered for protecting myself. I need y'all to go and count all the women that done died due to domestic violence in Atlanta, Georgia, and Little Rock, Arkansas, and Houston, Texas, and Conroe, Texas, where they tried to set me up to be murdered for protecting myself. So it's some male ego stuff going on right now as well, from abusive males that feel like they have the right to slap their women around, and you'll mess around and slap her around and accidentally kill her and be sitting up in jail on a murder charge, and then they think they're going to have people pulling strings talking about it was an honor killing. You don't have the right to kill women. You do not. Unless she done did something to where she going to trial and it's been proven that she needs to get the death sentence, nobody have no right to be killing no women. So anyway, let me find me something to eat, y'all. I just, so it makes me feel good that God said that I was pressing charges on him because white men been feeling like they can just abuse women. That's their whole legacy. The whole legacy of the white man in this country, that his whole honor is, we took some of y'all black women, and we took a bunch of y'all black women, and we raped them, and we beat them up. And that is some real fragile punk stuff. To think that you hard because you was abusing some black women and stealing their babies while they was pregnant with other babies, and then thinking you hard because you did that and because they men was not able to stand up against you during that time frame. And if that's all you can hold on to, your legacy of abusing women, you don't really have a legacy. And now I understand why God said that it was going to be destroyed.